What do you think about me having notes? And what do you think of these notes?
Well, I know you talked about it
Mm.
like at the start of one of the episodes. I'm not sure if maybe it was a car one and you're talking about.
Yeah, potentially.
I wanted to have a look. I was going to text you, okay.
Like, what do we talk about?
Yeah, like what did you want to talk about? Because I haven't told many people that I was doing this, but the few that I did, the first question was like, well, what are you going to talk about then? So it's interesting, but it's also fun. Like, I had a vague idea, like, oh, it's probably going to be like one of a few things or a few of a few things. So
pretty much.
But it's good. I like first glance. I like what's on there. So.
What's on the agenda? Do you think I should get to a place where I do it with no notes, or do you think notes are working well? Like, have you watched many of the episodes? I don't know.
Well, I listen to them.
Okay.
So I can't see you.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Okay, so you can't, because that's the thing I feel like, because I don't want the notes to be something where I'm almost like interjecting with some preconceived question that doesn't really feel natural to the conversation. I want it to be a flow, and so I'm kind of always in this state of I should have no notes really because I want it to be the natural conversation. But then I get to the end of the show and I'm like, oh, I forgot to ask Nick about XYZ, right?
True.
You know?
I feel like it's probably one of the hardest skills of being like hosting a podcast, making sure that it's very natural, but you hit the topics that you want to get to. I notice a couple times where it's like either you'll bring someone back, which is fair enough because like you'll see it today. I'll just fucking ramble and then we'll get to some point where I have to come back and you'll be like, oh, what was the question? So I guess the notes help with that. But you can barely tell.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
I guess it depends. It depends on the guest.
I try and bring people back, like, because I think that sometimes bringing people back to the start of the conversation can reveal like more interesting stuff. I feel like, because we can follow one tangent, but sometimes there's multiple tangents that you can kind of go down with one topic. True. But yeah, speaking of multiple tangents, something that has a lot of legs and will lead to an awesome conversation, I reckon, is your personal journey with meditation, breathwork, spirituality. And there's a story that I want to kind of unshell on the podcast here today. In first year uni, I don't know if you even remember this. It was in it was in 2021. We were leaving building 8 after one of the, starting accounting classes, right? And you get on your bike and we were talking about what we're going to do in the afternoon, right? And I was like, I'm going to the gym, then I'm going to MMA training, something like that. Leon was saying he's going to go for a surf, XYZ, whatever it was, right? And you were like, oh, I'm going to do like a whole bunch of meditation, some breath work, really chill out and try and let go tonight. And I was like, what is this kid talking about, bro? What do you mean, right? And now look at me. I do this stuff every week. I'm a huge believer. You've turned me, not even slowly. It was a sudden shift for me where I was like, this is weird and this is helpful. And you were a big part in my own journey. But I want to know about your journey today, Nick.
That's cool. I feel like you're giving me too much credit. I feel like you didn't get to those sort of things your own way.
For sure.
And you were definitely. But that's I'll take that one, bro. That's a cool thing to get someone onto. I'm surprised that it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Because obviously it wasn't like a day that I sat down and I was like, oh, I really want to start doing this, this, and this. It's obviously just grows. Do you want me to start from the start?
I guess so.
I guess. Like, it started from a practice of, I used to do stretching and then I would also do some guided meditation. I'm not sure why I first started doing that. Could have been my mum. There was also a teacher at school who like talked about it, but I didn't really like the guy. And so I doubt that him telling me would have been influencing me. Funny, I would like to run into him now and tell him about it because I'm sure that he would be like, oh, like, yes, finally.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I'd do a bit of meditation. It'd be like 5 minutes with, is it Headspace?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the app? Yeah.
Yeah, the app. Do 5-10 minutes of that. And then I would also be doing like just stretching because I was playing footy and doing whatever. So
yes.
Then I kind of thought, oh, like yoga would be a good mix of both. So I started doing that probably, that would have been the time when we first talked about it. So like start of uni, maybe I did it in high school a little bit, but like just here and there. It's definitely been something that's on and off. And like for the first, like from then until maybe like this time last year, I didn't, like, I feel like my practice of yoga has changed a lot. Like, I think about it very differently.
How so? How's it evolved from
Yeah.
when you first started?
So back then it was actually just stretching, really. Like, I thought that I was having that meditative side of it, but really it wasn't. I guess it was more the fact that I would go somewhere like by myself. Like, I've got a space in my house that I can go where no one will like disturb me, so it'll be quiet, kind of get it, and it feels like I don't do anything else there. So it's a bit of a special spot, which is nice, but it was still just me just doing some stretches and just moving my body around, which is good anyway. I really like that. Then last year there was a point where I started actually listening, because when I first started, I would always watch video, follow along a yoga video.
Yeah.
I started listening to what they were actually saying. And for me, when I listen to like yoga instructors speak in these videos, the first videos that I was drawn to were more of like exercise-based yoga instructors.
Yes.
Because I'm like, shut up with this hippie garbage. I don't want to hear you talking about like connect yourself with the ground and feel yourself on Mother Earth. And I was like, shut up, man. Like, please just let me do my stretches. Let me chill out. And I do still feel that way a little bit. I think that sort of part of yoga puts so many people off, which is a shame, because I think like everyone would probably benefit from doing some. But I did sort of take a bit of what they were saying to heart, and most of that was around like slowing down and presence of mind. Like, for me, that's such an important, it's like one of my main, I don't really set many goals, but that's one of the big ones for sure. Like, promoting presence of mind.
That's such a deep goal. Like, it's so anti-materialistic. Like, to be present of mind, right? You can't prove that via a number on your phone or jewelry on your wrist, right? It's immaterial. It only exists in your head. And if you know, there's no way to prove that you do or do not have it. And you can't really fully have it. It's a spectrum and you can work into it, you know? How did you develop that goal, and how did that develop in you?
It's interesting because it goes in such waves. Like, I'll have some periods, like weeks, when I first kind of, it was almost like a realization. Like, I clocked, I was like, I can really focus on just exactly what I'm doing. Don't think about what was just happened before. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow or in the next couple of hours, whatever. Just do what you're doing now. My very first thing that I told myself, and like I told my friends this and they laughed at me. I was like, the thing that I would tell myself was like, oh, just eat your toast, Nick. Eat your toast. And I thought of that when one morning I was eating my breakfast. I realized 2 pieces of toast gone. Hadn't even tasted it at all. It's just gone. I was like, whoa, I just ate that without even thinking. And so I just went, oh, just eat your toast, which just means to me, like, slow down, be aware of what's going on, which is so much fun, because little things, daily life, which usually I would find so like monotonous and like so boring. I'd be like, I wish I didn't have to do these things. When I first started just paying attention to them more, I just enjoyed the little nuances of everything, like taking washing out, I don't know, cooking a meal, doing simple things around the house, like paying attention to it made it so fun. I know there's a Japanese like term for it, which I don't know, which is bad, but I'll bring it up anyway. And it's like finding joy in the little things of life, and that like it's like just a way that they promote like happiness with, like, you don't have to have the most extravagant, like amazing life. Just enjoy what you are doing.
Yeah.
Because that's just what it is.
The simple pleasures and being present in the moment. You know, living life in the moment is a skill, and you have to develop it and work on it over time. Because as you said, the toast is 20 minutes, but I do whole days where you just don't remember a single thing, right? Especially when you're busy, right? Especially when you're busy on a specific thing. Like, imagine you're really busy at work and essentially your whole day can't encapsulate anything outside of work. Like, you wake up in the morning, you go to work, it's now like 7:30 in the morning, you work until 7:30 at night, you go home, go to bed. that day is essentially gone. Like, because you can zone out the whole day and just get
Yeah.
caught up in the rush, right? And then there's other days that feel like years. Today,
Yeah.
I had a surf with Leon, right? I planned a trip with Angus to Perisher this weekend, right? I went to the gym, hit leg day, and now I'm doing a podcast in my house. This is insane, right? Like, I've lived a whole week in one day, right? It's one of those things where you can just get so sidetracked by the modern life, right?
Yeah,
And you know, the tasks that you have, and caught up in whatever game that you're playing. What was the veil that, when did the veil rip for you, and what was the catalyst for that?
Oh,
Because that's the hardest thing. I feel like the first step, you know, the realization of that there's an issue here, and that being present of mind is a skill, and I'm terrible at it and I need to work on it.
Yeah.
But most people never even reach that first step.
yeah. Well, I don't know if it was like, I don't know if it was one. There's definitely a moment where I realized and I made conscious change, which I think that was definitely like a tipping point that I was leading up to. Like I was already aware of things like how I use my phone, like that sort of stuff, which is I would go on my phone for half an hour, reply to a message, change app so quickly, onto the next thing, onto the next thing. Couldn't tell you if I put my phone down, someone asked me, what did you just do? Who did you just talk to? What were you talking about? I probably couldn't even tell you, which was like, I knew that before that I kind of associated that with like being present. But I don't know about lifting a veil. Like, yeah.
Do you think people hide from that? Like, people recognize themselves doing that in their own lives, and because it's convenient, they go, look, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to worry about the fact that I just scrolled Instagram Reels for 2 hours. I can't tell you 2 things that actually happened on there, right? Like, do people, like, I feel like people see that in themselves all the time, but it's convenient. It's more convenient to ignore it rather than work on yourself to overcome it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like a lot of people talk about like they don't want to be alone in their own thoughts. Like there was a trend going around, I don't know what they called it exactly, but it was like silent walks or something like that, where if you're going out for a walk, you would go without your headphones, like your AirPods, because most people that are walking would like listen to a pod, listen to music, whatever. And I was talking to, I think it was to my dad or my mom about it, like the fact that that's a trend to like have to go out and like so many people are already not like living that way, and they're always constantly, you know, on something. But something like that did get popular does make me think that people are aware of it. So whether or not they understand or realize it and then try and hide from it, like, I don't know. I suppose I'm speaking like I'm perfect. I'm not at all.
No. Well, when you're speaking about like deep philosophy sort of things like this, you sort of have to detach your own ego and person to it. You have to speak in like an objective manner, I feel like, right?
It is beneficial probably to speak from both points, right?
Agreed.
Because it is easy for us, let's say, to sit and talk about it, but then when you remove yourself from the ego, then there are certain nuances about everyone that like gets lost at that point, which everybody's journey to, let's say, presence of mind as one idea, everybody's journey to get to a state like that would be different for different reasons. So if you talk about it objectively, like outside of individuals, then you'd probably like, it could be a bit meaningless almost.
You're so right.
Because I don't want to, like, I don't preach this sort of stuff, because I came to it through my own way. I know that anybody else would have to do the same. Like, I'm sure people would benefit from having a think about it, but like, it's my life that I chose to start trying something new. I'm not going to, like, how I did it is probably not going to work for you or you. So I'm not going to tell you.
It's everyone's own journey, right? And that journey teaches you the lessons, not the lessons themselves just being told to you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's one of those things as well where it's kind of like, in a humble way, who am I to share what is right? You know, like everyone has to figure that out for themselves, right? And for me to like come on here and preach about like, oh, this, and that, and the other. But I find it interesting to discuss these ideas because they're, you know, I think they're meaningful. And I think, you know, philosophy is sort of having a new age revolution, and it sort of needs to, in my opinion, as well as spirituality and a lot of things that we're talking about now with, you know, just letting go, breath work, meditation as vehicles to get there.
Mm.
You know, we talked about like, you know, that difference between, you know, oh, sit on Mother Earth,
Yeah,
let it absorb into you, like that kind of cringe side, I guess you could say.
Sure.
And then the very real spiritual benefit side as well that we've both experienced. But both of those kind of exist on a spectrum. How do you get from here to here? How do you jump over that?
Well, it's funny, like today, this afternoon, I literally sat on a rock and just like watched the sunset. But like, yeah, I hate Mother Earth. No, like,
No, I know, but you know what I mean,
no,
right?
I know what you mean. I don't know. I think I started loving it because I felt the benefits.
Mm,
Like, I feel so, my mind constantly races with things, and it's usually going over the same things over and over, which is pointless in itself.
yes.
Or it's hypothetical situations, running through them, where it's like, let's say I'm having a hypothetical conversation in my head. What a waste of time. Either stop it and do something else, focus on what you're doing, or if you want to have that conversation, go and have it in real life. Like, I don't know, it's just things like that where I noticed things that I was doing that would take me away. And then when I was focusing on here and now, it'd be so clear. I'd feel more happy, more confident. Like I'd just be enjoying life more here now, doing it rather than thinking about what could happen, what did happen. So that was, I don't know, it was just the real benefits that I felt. If I didn't feel change, then I wouldn't have kept doing a practice of it. You know what I mean?
I do. What does your schedule look like now in terms of this stuff to let go?
There's sometimes when like my body will like call for it. It'll be like, Nick, you need to like slow down.
Yes.
Like I had a pretty big weekend, just busy with seeing lots of people who I hadn't seen for a little while, which I always find a little bit tiring. I enjoy it a lot. Like I had a great time, but I got home yesterday afternoon. I was shattered. Like I was so drained physically, like emotionally. And back in the day, I would have just, I don't know, put a movie on, scroll my phone, whatever, just to get me to bedtime, then I'd sleep. I just laid in my bed on my back. I wasn't tired yet, but I was just laying on my back like this. And just for 20 minutes, half an hour, I just did absolutely nothing. And of course, my mind was like still racing because it had been all weekend. Which is fine, time and place for that. But when my body calls for it, that's when I'll do it. Or like most mornings, I try to start my morning with something. When I have my days off from work or uni, I love it because I can just wake up slowly, go upstairs, do some, like just move my body around, like warm up my body. I always wake up stiff. I feel like I'm 60 years old, but I'm not, that's an issue for another time. So mornings I love. I also do it for the workout because I used to go to the gym, which I hate. It made my body feel horrible. And I didn't enjoy that, but I do miss like the exercise of it. Like I play sport obviously, but it's different kind of physical challenge, which I enjoy. So sometimes I'll do a really strong practice, which is like hard work, which is totally different to a yoga practice, which is just lying on my back for 45 minutes. Both very, very challenging, but in different ways.
It's almost, I would argue, like sometimes I go and do a yoga session or just a, complete breathwork meditation session at the gym because they've got this brilliant kind of like back room set up that's all dark with mirrors and mats and, everything that you need set up for a good session, right? And I think the more challenging times at the gym is definitely those times, right? Where I actually have to be still within myself and to let go. And sometimes I feel like this is true too. Sometimes when you try and let go is when you feel yourself trying to clasp on the hardest. You know what I mean? Because you're kind of like, you're finally like, okay, here we go. But then your mind, you're like, okay, let's silence these thoughts. But you've been going all weekend, right? And the thoughts keep coming. And then you try and silence it and it just doesn't get there. Do you ever experience that too? Is there like little tips and tricks to get past that and to move into a zone that's more mature?
Yeah. When I do meditate, it's like I do it in different ways. Like sometimes it'll be guided, not as often anymore. I don't like it as much. I find it a bit distracting.
Yes.
But sometimes if I haven't done any for a while, it will be good because I need the guidance. You know what I mean? Like I need the help. but when I've been doing the practice consistently for a little bit, then I'll enjoy it by myself. And there's a few things I've learned, like breath. It's like such a simple thing. It's always going on, and it's interesting enough to concentrate on, but not too much that like it's always there, and it's a good thing to meditate on. There's also other things which, like, I'm always very tense. Like, I feel it, like my shoulders, my hips, especially forehead, jaw, like so many things. Like, I clench my teeth quite a lot. I notice it in my sleep, and I've always had sensitive teeth because of that. And one thing I like to do when I meditate is just try and relax every tiny little muscle in my face. And it's totally different to just focusing on the breath, but it's the same thing, really. So there's no right or wrong way. It's just a practice for yourself. You can do it however you want. Like, some days I'll just try and do something with my breath, or sometimes I'll do something completely out, like different. If you hear a noise outside that you really like, you can just sit and listen to that noise for like 20 minutes or something. Like, it's not, doesn't have to be anything special. But one thing that I do think is a good tip is that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself when you're doing it. I always found it difficult at the start. I'd be like, this is such a horrible, like, I'm doing so poorly right now meditating. My mind's going all over the place. As soon as you start thinking like that, you're just making it worse.
Exactly.
Well. But that is, when you do notice yourself, you just like bring yourself back to whatever you're trying to focus on or relax with. And the more times you catch yourself, the more you're working on it, the more practice it is. So if your mind's really going and racing and wandering, it gives you more of an opportunity to bring yourself back, which is like, sometimes I like those days because I get to, like, it feels like a reward every time I catch myself. I'm like, dude, I caught myself 50 times just then in 10, like, or a minute sometimes. Like, sometimes so much, my mind's just going. Even though I used to, back in the day, would have said, oh, that was horrible meditation. Like, that was so bad. And I'd walk away feeling poorly about it. But now, whether it's good or bad, I feel better every time. So, like,
that's so
can't really
good.
complain. Yeah.
That's such a good way to put it. How have you seen yourself evolve through this journey? And then where do you see kind of your evolution going? And I think an interesting point too that you touched on was that people can't accept that practice makes perfect when it comes to meditation. A lot of people sit down and they try and do it and their mind's racing, and then they go, oh, like, this isn't for me. This isn't going to work. But if they would have just practiced, they would get there. Did you experience that in your evolution? What did it look like for you?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. 9 months ago, I was much clearer of mind and had much more presence of mind than I do now, which is, at first, I found it quite disheartening because obviously it felt like I was going backwards for a while, but I'd only just started doing this. So I'm kind of chill with that now.
Yes.
So in terms of what I see in the future, like, I'm not sure. I hope to get back to, like, my first goal would be feel how my mind was feeling like 9 months ago. That was a great time. Just in terms of clarity. So something like that, a simple goal. Like, I wouldn't think, oh, I want to be able to sit on a rock and meditate for like 5 hours. Like, I don't care for that. I've got a life to live.
Yeah.
So just get back to how I was. I know I can get to that sort of state. I've done it before. Let's just get there and see if I can feel better or do more. That sort of thing. And then what was the first part of the question?
Just where do you see your evolution going from here, I guess? Like, if you were to get back to that kind of baseline, right? Is there more? Like, I feel like,
oh yeah, you said how did I see it? Like,
how have you seen it evolve in yourself? Yes, that too.
I just take more time with things. I used to get so worried of like I think I've only got one life here, which is sick. That's fine. At least I got one. And I'd be so worried about like wasting it. You know what I mean? And that would make me rush. So I'd be like, I want to do all these things like with the time that I have, but realizing that rushing through life is gonna make it that much worse because then it'll all just rush me by. I won't even remember it. It made me take more time with everything. Simple things, listening to someone. I go upstairs in the morning, my family's in the kitchen. In the past, if I was busy going to work or to school, I'd just be bang, 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 eating my food. Nothing, like, I'd rather just doesn't have to be long, 2 minutes. Just have a conversation and really listen, something like that. Or instead of making a massive bowl of food to eat, I'll make something small so that I can eat it in time and actually enjoy it and think about it. Eat something later, have a snack later. Like not rushing is something was very scary at the start, but I think that's probably one of the biggest benefits that I've found, because it just seeps
Not so good.
seeps out through I'm looking at Kyle. It seeps out through every other aspect. I don't know, it just
100%.
permeates through everything, and you see the benefits, and it's just like,
No,
yeah.
you can see a rushed and pedantic person in everything they
yeah.
do. Like, it's really obvious, right? Like, even if you just pull up to the gas station and you look next to you and there's someone pumping gas, you can tell in their face and in their posture that they're stressed sometimes, because they've got that rushed kind of hurry to them. And sometimes you are in a rush. Sometimes you got to get home to make the podcast, right? Other times, right, you're just rushed for no reason. You've got all day, but your mind's racing and convincing you're rushing, right? And I think what people struggle with too, and you brought this up, is that they're wasting their life on whatever it is, right? And that like permeates stress and permeates a rush to go do something, but you know, they don't necessarily action it through the right ways. They just stress and stress and stress, right? And you sort of put the burden of your own life on your shoulders all the time, right? Because you see how important it is. You see how valuable it is. And you're like, I can't waste this. I must do the right thing, right? And you essentially put that burden on your shoulders, which only weighs you down, right? Which does, like, which it can, for some people, it can set them free and give them a purpose and allow them to push for that, right? And then for others, it can weigh them down, and it just incites hurriedness and a rush.
That weighs me down. A lot of people, and that's the thing, some people would take it and it would like motivate them. Sure. Yes. But I feel like more people would weigh down. Essentially.
I completely agree. You have to be a different type of person to let it motivate you.
But you're that kind of guy though, like
maybe. Yeah. That's what I mean. But I think there's kind of two camps, and like one's not better than the other. It's just different ways of dealing with it, you know? Like, because I don't think, actually, maybe there isn't two different types of people. Maybe it's just a spectrum and you can move up and down.
Probably.
Because I feel that weight on myself, and especially when there's expectation put on you too, right? And like everyone has a level of expectation put onto them by somebody, right?
But like from yourself, others, or
both, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure,
like it's never been like, oh, my parents have expected me to do X, Y, and Z, or my friends have expected me to do this, and that. But it's kind of like my own, I don't know, my own personality, right, seems honed for something, and I've kind of just been sort of pressured to find that, you know what I mean? And like that, but maybe that's within myself a little bit more.
Yeah,
I've never wanted to, you know, waste talents that have been given to me, and I feel like I've got a talent to communicate, so I want to let it shine. You know what I mean? That sort of thing, and I feel like that is not wasting it, right? That's the motivator for me.
Yeah, fair. I like that. Not wasting talents is always like, if you're good at something, it's nice to not even just do it, but just try and, I don't know, get better at it, even use it.
Just to express yourself through it.
Because you're enjoying this, right?
100%. I love this. This is awesome. I just love yapping away.
Out episodes as well. I was like,
dude, we've been doing this for a month. This is our 11th episode. It's so much fun, these things. Like, I have fun.
Who's the 10th?
Nathan, a guy named Nathan Smith. He runs a marketing agency, and his episode was pretty crazy.
When did you do that on?
We did that. When did we do that, Carl? We did that on Saturday morning.
Yeah, nice.
And man, he's a great guest. Such a good speaker. And just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to all those sort of things.
I've been enjoying listening to them. I haven't listened to all of them. I've listened to the ones for the people that I know, which I tell people, like, of course I'm going to enjoy a podcast which is just my mates, like having a yap. Like, it kind of makes sense.
So true.
So I'm not a great judge.
No.
You know what I mean? But
Noah gives me feedback almost every day on the pod, and I'm like,
is he good? Is it?
It's good feedback.
Criticism?
Yeah, I want criticism because I want to make the show as good as possible, right?
Fair.
So from criticism from people that I know are doing it in the right way and in the right, you know, with the right intention, then I appreciate that criticism. I want to take it on board, you know. But there's been positive feedback too. A lot of people said that they really liked listening to the episodes. A lot of the people are my mates who are mates with other people that have been on this show. So I guess we'll see. You know, we're gonna have some like non-friend guests pretty soon who are people that I've never really met before who are coming on the show. I've had a few of those planned. They've cancelled on us, as we'll know. So, you know, it's just the way it goes. But I guess bleeding into bleeding from that kind of meditative, spiritual kind of aspect is another one of your fascinations in literature, especially like philosophical and thought-provoking literature too. And I feel like when we were talking about, ideas being theoretical or ideas being practical, it reminded me of a conversation I had on this show with Joey about Plato's The Republic, where
I
in
enjoyed that episode. When he started talking about the stuff, and when he was quoting me about that AI stuff, I was like, "Oh, Joey, I don't know, you might be butchering it here." But he did a good job.
He did a good job. His episode was awesome.
really
Underrated
enjoyed it. I liked
episode.
it, yeah.
Nah, he's awesome. But
Sorry, continue.
No. But like the Republic kind of pitches this idea of the perfect democratic society would be these kids raised in solitary confinement with certain like infrastructure and education around them, right? To build them into, non-biased good people, right? And it's one of those things where objectively, right, if you could have that, right, if that was possible to obtain, then yes, that would be the best because you'd have
do you believe that?
No, of course it's not possible to obtain that.
Not possible, but because
I think if you were to somehow, which probably wouldn't be possible with a human leader, but if you were to have a human leader that's completely unbiased, that thinks in a logical manner for the benefit of all people, like if that's governing a society, a country, or the world, I think that's probably the best way, But it also has to have like an emotional tolerance too, and that's something that's inherently human, right? And so who knows? I don't necessarily know what the perfect leader looks like, but I know Plato's Republic isn't it because it's too theoretical and not enough practical, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I started reading more recently, going back to uni, which I enjoy. And that's the first time really that I started reading like nonfiction, just like academic literature, which I do enjoy as well, but it can get dry, obviously.
For sure.
Yeah. But a lot of my initial like views, thoughts about all sorts of different things, were based in what I was reading, which all happened to be stuff that was written like usually 100 years ago, 80 years ago. Sometimes I get worried that because I read all these old things, my views, I'm gonna have old-fashioned views. Like there are so many great thinkers and theorists, writers now that I kind of neglect because I don't know. Like I like reading classics because I know it's good.
Yeah,
I know
it's completely rated. Understand what you mean.
People have commented on it, so it's easier to like both positively and negatively, so I can see just how people have taken it.
Exactly.
I find it easier, whereas new information is a bit scary because I have to just make my own judgment. Be like, do I believe this or do I think this is right or beneficial or whatever it is? Which is maybe why I first started like sticking to the older stuff. But now that I'm developing my own thoughts and how I sort of view things, I know I'll come back and read some modern stuff. Like there's so many things on AI, for example, that I haven't read that I should. And now that I've sort of learnt more, I feel like I would enjoy being able to think about it and then comment on it, I guess. So.
Yeah, it's so easy to ignore these things, but I feel like everyone has the burden and the privilege to learn and understand these things to, not only enhance and empower their own lives, but the lives of others too, because this is the world we live in, right? And if you're not up to date, or not up to date, but just like understanding where AI is going or understanding your own philosophical needs, desires, wants, exploring it within yourself, then you're kind of doing a little bit of a disservice to yourself a little bit. You're not really exploring fully what it means to be human, which is the unknown, right? And speaking of writers of old, we always love talking about Aldous Huxley, right? And the doors of perception, which later brought on the doors, right? And that's the whole point of the doors of perception, the unknown being super scary, right? And Jim Morrison always talks about there's the known, there's the unknown, and between them there are the doors, right? And that's the bit where people wrestle with. That's the part where most people ignore it because it's convenient, but
yeah, definitely convenient.
It's right there.
I think it's goes to show, like, I feel like we live in a relatively like cynical time. Like people just neglect a lot of things because it's either too difficult or like too fucked up. Seriously. And I found it like now that I've started learning more about the world and how it's run and things that go on, at first I found it so highly depressing. Some conversations that we would have in class with some really intelligent people that know so much more than I do, they would be debating about a topic, go around in circles a little bit, kind of meander the way through a conversation, and it would get to a point where the class kind of looks around and go like, "Oh no, it's so bad.
We're cooked."
Yeah, it's so bad.
I agree.
And that was one time. It was very early on in the semester where I wasn't really contributing because I didn't have anything to add. So I was just listening pretty well, and I had a feeling I was just like, oh, these guys, they know so much more than me, and they got to that like it was so disheartening in a way. Since then, I think that's not necessarily easy, but it's a mindset you can fall into, and it's not beneficial for anyone. It doesn't make you want to live a happy life or try and change things at all, which I think not enough people believe in change, generally. And yeah, I guess it does lend itself to that between of the known and the unknown, and things that are graspable. But yeah, people think it might be too difficult or too scary, or they might, I mean, in the past, people try and change things, and obviously there's going to be pushback because people think it's going the wrong way. Like, it doesn't, if we knew how to run the world perfectly, we would do it. But I mean, you have to experiment and fail, and that's happened a lot. But yeah.
You talked about people being resistant to change, both within themselves and I guess within society.
Yeah, sure.
How do we change that narrative? Because, you know, especially in Australia, it feels like we're kind of like, we're just at a point where we're the lucky country and things are sort of getting worse, but no one's really talking about it. Like, we're kind of just, you know, happy to accept where we are, and to believe in positive change feels like such a step. To think that things are actually going to get better than get worse is such a crazy mind shift for so many people, you know? Like, how do we get there? How do we make a more optimistic society, whether that's delusional optimism or real optimism?
I'm not sure. I think it probably does have to come from within. You need people that are really curious about things and can envision a different kind of like world to live in, society to live in, town to live in, all different levels. I know lots of people promote grassroots change because it's so much easier to conceive. It's so hard to look at the whole world and think, let's change it. Like, let alone a group of, I don't know, let's say Manly Freshie. How many people live here? 10,000 or something like that.
Let's say.
Like, start small. Start with a group of friends. Like, start with, you got 5 mates.
Start within yourself. Yeah, you know, for all people.
It's the easiest thing to change how you think, how you view things, and trying experimenting, trying new things, being curious. That sort of stuff always helps. I think, and I still feel that it's overwhelming. I say all these things. I don't necessarily promote change myself. Like, it's just something it's like quite theoretical in my mind. Hasn't come into practical form yet.
Yes.
I do think that it will. Like, I do see that happening in the future. But yeah, I can start small. And that's the thing. It's so, as soon as you bring something down to like local community or group of friends or whatever, people are like, what's it going to do? Like, what's it going to change? But I mean, you really do have to start somewhere, I guess. Even that's the thing, you notice like my tone, like, it's just not as fun talking about that.
Yeah, because it's
you want
like,
to change the whole world. But
it's a defeating perspective, but it's also a realistic perspective too, because you understand that you can't solve the problems that you're dealing with via that lens, you know? Well, I was just going to add on to that before. Like, I think one thing that definitely stops people from trying to promote change, because I know, like, let's say climate for one thing. Yep.
I know so many people that are very passionate about it, and everyone now, new generations coming through, understand the issues.
Yes.
And for so long, I think it was like, it's an issue that transcends a lifetime in a way.
Yep, for sure.
It's very hard to try and push for something where you know that you might not see the goal, like the benefit at the end.
Yep, of course.
I know a lot of people use, like, kids. They think like, oh, if I'm going to bring kids into this world, I want to leave it a better place. I want to do this, so they can see that and it's quite a selfish thing. It's like, oh, my kids, I want
Mhm.
them to live in this world. But if you think something that you want to change is going to take 100 years, people can be put off by that instantly because I'm not going to be around for it. Like, I'm here. And it's very selfish mindset, which
Mm.
I think sometimes as well. I think sometimes I'm a very selfish person. And it's because, like, comes back to, I'm here once, I get to live one life. How do I want to do it? Do I want to spend my whole life trying to change something that will benefit future generations? I would love to say yes, like 100%.
Mm.
And I think that's that'd be such a noble way to live. But also, yeah, you're sacrificing your life at that point to the greater good, definitely. But it's a very hard thing to give up.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It would take, a certain amount of people to be completely selfless like that and to try and promote, because these things obviously take a long time,
Mm.
multiple generations even. But I think that definitely puts people off, the fact that some of these massive things to change do take more than one lifetime.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think you brought up such a good point with having a family, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like having kids and leaving a legacy and having a family that is going to rely on the generations to come, to rely on the city being stable, to rely on the education program in that state, to rely on the climate being livable, right? It makes you have skin in the game, right? And it motivates people to do better and be better for the betterment of future generations, because your kids are going to grow up in that world, right? And I feel like that's almost a bit of a problem in today's society too. We've got the lowest fertility rates in Australia that we've ever had. More couples are choosing to have no kids and just live on their own with a dog or something like that. Not just because of their own personal beliefs, but because they literally can't afford to, right? Cost of living's gotten so insane that they can't afford to have kids and start a family, right? And so why do they care about the place that they live? They rather this infrastructure not be built because it's going to annoy them and cause problems, rather than want all these new schools and all these new transport systems so that their kids can grow up in a better Sydney or a better wherever in Australia, the world even, right? To have a large family is to have skin in the game, and to have skin in the game is to care, not just for your own family, but about society, right? Do you
Mm.
agree with that?
I think it definitely goes both ways. Like, I don't love promoting people having lots and lots of kids,
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of, like, population is, like, we live in a finite world.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing puts me off. But there are definitely certain things that make, like, how would I say it? Yeah, skin in the game is probably a good way to put it. Like, you want to care more about what you leave when there's things and people that you care that are going to outlive you by a long time.
Mm.
Like,
For
sure,
sure.
like, most people, the relationships that they have would be similar in age with them, except for their kids, usually.
Agreed.
So that would be very strong link to the future, having a kid. Yeah. So I understand that it goes both ways, but I don't know. Like, there was a time when the Pope was touring around, like, third world countries, being like, get rid of all the contraception, have as many kids as you can. And it's just like, you're telling the wrong people the wrong things, bro.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because that's kind of the thing, I guess, the duality between the developing world and the developed world. The developed world continues to have less and less and less kids in places like the US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, Australia,
yeah.
all declining birth rates, right? And then you have developing countries, right? India, Nigeria, etc., who have the highest birth rates in the world right now. And so it, and it's kind of one of those ones where it's the difference in culture as well has created that shift. But I also think it's kind of like, a different mindset too. And, especially different economic conditions as well. Like, if you think of Africa, they've got some of the highest birth rates in those countries, right? But that's because they need to. They're having kids to literally support the family so that they can continue to survive, right? So sometimes it's literally a way of life and embedded in the culture that you have as many kids as possible, because that's going to ensure your survival. And then, in other countries, it's just a culture of having big families, and, that's tied to religion and cultural aspects and things like that too. I want to talk about, we've talked a lot about on a bunch of podcasts about kind of society and the constructs that make it, and then the practical outcome that is a product of it, right? and we've talked about the differences between capitalism and communism, and where state intervention is necessary and where state intervention goes too far, right? And then we've also talked about, families and how that impacts society. What do you think is the utopian society? Is it possible for us to get there? Is that just a silly word to use, a utopian society, because it's not even realistic? Should we be thinking about things that could actually exist?
Yeah, I think like how we were talking about change before, one of the things that I have read this year, which I really liked, was talking about how people don't believe in utopia anymore. Like it gets, especially in the academic sphere in the past, like it's having a bit of resurgence, but early 2000s, 90s especially, like if you were writing the word utopia, people would like chuck out your papers straight
Yeah,
away.
shut up.
Yeah, it's like, doesn't exist, mate. So I think it's, yeah, you can have a really cynical mindset and think, nah, it's impossible. Like it can't happen. But as soon as you start thinking that, then what have you got?
You're cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
whether or not it's possible or not, and the other thing is like what it looks like, we don't know. But to stop believing in something like that is like, I reckon that's just a shame. I'd rather, even if it's impossible, I'd rather go my whole life thinking that it could exist. Yeah, I think we live in a society, stupid fuck.
You got yourself, bro.
I knew I was gonna say that one time on this podcast.
I've been trying to avoid it this whole time. So good.
We do live in a society that people think that the boundaries are too concrete. So we think that there's only so much wriggle room. A lot of policy, especially, has turned into what's the word? Like, I can't remember the word. I'll come back to it. But what was I saying just before that?
Policy. A lot of policy is turned into
before the policy.
I couldn't tell you. Bro, the society thing threw me off so hard. I was. What was?
No,
okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Right, cool.
I watched a documentary which I didn't necessarily love it, but I thought it would be interesting anyway. It's called Hypernormalization.
Okay.
And this guy, Adam Curtis, made it, who's like been doing stuff for the BBC, making films and writing stuff for a while. I don't agree with all of his views by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's got some interesting points. He definitely sort of like mythifies some things and plays on the fact, like he was talking about a lot of things that I've been reading academically, and because it was in the form of a like BBC documentary, it seemed very trivial the way he was talking about it and kind of brushing over some things, even though the main point of it was very true, I think, which is that, yeah, the boundaries of what we think is possible are just becoming narrowed and narrowed and narrowed. And the reasons for that, like he goes on a massive spiel about how it's because of massive corporations and the rich wanting to keep a society in which they benefit wholly and always. To some extent, I believe that's true, but I don't think it is maybe as nefarious as the way he paints it. But it's definitely so much limitation on like the creativity of what we could, the world that we could live in.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And change seems harder for people to comprehend every single year, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you ask people what life was going to be like in the 1950s, what it was going to be like in 2050, right? Their imagination would run wild, I think. Like, in my opinion, they could say a whole bunch of different things. They could paint a picture of genuine utopia. But if you ask people now what the future is going to be like in 50 years, I feel like everyone's going to have the same sort of dystopian answer, right? Which is quite, and as you said, that's a limit on our boundaries right there, right? And I feel like that comes with information and knowledge too. The more that we find out about the world and how it's run and the way things are developed over time, and the more that we understand about history, the more that we're able to predict what's going to happen. But I feel like, the idea of society not even getting towards utopia, but even just getting better is devoid of people's consciousness a little bit. And it goes back to what you and I were talking about the other day, I feel like, when we were talking about when you're a teenager, let's say, you're living in the naive world. You don't necessarily understand it around you. And then eventually you break the veil and become super pessimistic because the pressures of society get you down. And that's what we're talking about, where you can't see the utopia, right? In that pessimism, right? Because you're just like, how could this happen? How could this be? How could we get the world so out of hand, right? But then kind of the evolution of that is a delusional optimism, right? Which is, okay, all this, I understand now how the world works and I have the knowledge, right? Which has made me pessimistic. But in that, I'm going to fight it with my soul and become really optimistic and understand that this is the only way that positivity and change is going to get out there, right? By literally fighting fire with fire and not succumbing to the pessimistic pressure that the world puts on us, especially through media, that they promote fear, they promote division within our society, our culture, exactly for that reason, to keep you in that box, to keep the limits of the boundary of your reality enclosed.
I hate that.
It sucks. It's the worst thing ever. And people, and the thing is, I don't even know if anything that I'm saying is making sense right now, but the thing is, you can only experience this for yourself. Like, I know whatever I'm saying through this mic, it's just my lived experience, right? And you can tell that by the way I'm expressing myself, right? But everyone's going to have their own lived experience. It's going to bring them to that understanding, right?
Things you learn on your own, you always take so much more seriously. People tell me great advice so many times and I won't listen to them. As soon as I figure it out for myself, I'm like, oh, you're the guy, Nick. You figured that one. It's like, mate, people have been telling you that for years.
I know. This happens to me with my parents all the time. Like, they'll tell me the way things are going to go and give me advice, and I'll literally blow them off in the moment, right? I used to do this all the time as a teenager, and now in my 20s, every single day, I'm like, I should have listened to them when I had the chance. They were right. They were only telling me that because they wanted the best for me. And look at me now, an idiot. I should have capitalized on all the things they said, right?
It's definitely true. Like it takes a revolution of yourself before you want revolution in the rest of the world, I think.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really
I'm not the first person to say that.
Yeah, but that's it. Dude, that's the first time I'm hearing it. You know what I'm talking about? Dude, that was awesome. A revolution within yourself before you see revolution in the world.
Yeah, probably.
That's insane. It's a good no, it is. It is. Because you can't believe in change unless you experience it personally, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The easiest thing, if you're going to try and comprehend positive change in a society so chaotic and bleak at times, right? You're going to need to comprehend it in yourself first and understand that it is possible and it can be used to your advantage. And you can even change. So many people are stuck in a box that they think is inescapable.
Yeah. Going back to Aldous Huxley, like, you've got Brave New World and then you've got Island, which are like, they're probably two of my favorite novels for different reasons. And like, if I had to choose which direction we're going right now, like, I don't see Island coming around.
No, we're not making it to Island. For the people at home, explain Brave New World and Island.
Okay, I'll probably butcher it. But general premise, I'll start with Brave New World. Dystopic society where, and this was written, I want to say 40s.
I got it here. It's 1932.
32, okay.
Yeah.
So it's into war, and the premise is like futuristic society in a sense where everything is planned. That might be the best way to describe it. Like, births are planned, what you're going to do with your life, your career, your friends, your activities you're going to do. It's all planned and it's all set out for maximum personal pleasure. So we're going to breed these certain type of human that is going to love working in an office, and they're going to love it so much. And because of what we're doing because it's all like, they get made in these, the humans get made in these like massive like birthing facilities, or like test tube babies. It's like,
yes.
And there's going to be certain things along the path that make you're going to love sitting in a chair for 8 hours, or like you're going to love being outside and you're going to be like a conservationist. That's your job, or your certain things, right? And then when you're going through life, they sort of, it's like caste in a way. And you're only friends with your AAA buddies, or you're friends with your D buddies or whatever, and
Yes.
that's kind of how it goes. It's a society of ultra consumerism. Everybody's leisure activities is like, there's no going to the park and kicking a footy around or something. It's some crazy gadget because you're playing some sport that requires all this apparatus, because things need to get built and we need to produce things. So we're going to make everyone's leisure activities super extravagant and out there so that we can, anyway, it's a disgusting society, I think.
It's so bleak.
Yeah, I really love reading it because it actually makes me feel pretty good about what we're doing now. Then they also have, and I saw you write it, Soma.
Yeah.
Which Soma is I guess it's idea. Like the idea is that they have this super drug that makes you feel absolute pleasure for, it's like hours, whatever, depends how much you take, and there's absolutely no side effects at all. Everyone takes it in society, and you're an outcast if you don't. Pure bliss and absolutely no consequences. And you said, would I take it if it was real? That was your question, right?
Oh, I want to talk about Soma, I guess, as a whole thing, but yeah,
Okay.
answer that one.
Well,
Would you take Soma if it's real? If you feel,
I would try it.
The thing is, it's impossible to put that question on yourself, right? Because the way that we're talking about Brave New World requires you to live in that crazy, controlled, systemic society, right? And to put yourself in that shoes, you couldn't. Of course, you'd say yes. Everyone else is taking this thing. You probably exposed to Soma when you're a teenager, right? Even a kid, maybe, right? Everyone's going to be on it. It's like the coffee of today's world. And I guess that leads into the real question on the sheet, which was if Soma was a thing today, if we could apply Soma as a metaphor to all the craziness going on in the world, what would it be? Would social media be our Soma? Would the crazy news cycle be our Soma? Would it be caffeine?
It doesn't exist, because Soma in its literary world has no consequences at all. No, whether I believe that it actually has, like, that's the premise of in the narrative. That's what it tells us. Thinking back about it now, about how the characters act, maybe that is sort of a side effect of it, but that's another thing. No, I don't think in its how it's described. No, I don't think it exists today, a certain form of it.
Fair. Because I feel like, I'm not necessarily saying the perfect definition, but I'm saying the Soma is used as a control substance, right? Everyone's a pleasure seeker in this society, in this theoretical society, and it's kind of like pleasure-driven systemic control is what it is. Everyone's so distracted because of this Soma that they're on, and they're so happy they don't necessarily reflect on what's happening to them in the society that they're in, right? And I feel like there are versions of that in society now, ones that I listed before, antidepressants being another, as you talked about, antidepressants and Soma, completely different, because antidepressants do have side effects, right? I'm not saying they're good or bad or whatever, but they definitely do, whereas Soma as an idea doesn't. But I feel like you can draw parallels there.
No, definitely. There's so much escapism today. So I think generally people use all sorts of things to get away from here and now, whether that be, like social media or whatever it is. It's when you list it like that, I know where you're coming from.
Is there any others I missed, you think? Like methods of escape that are completely unproductive? Because, we escape in the same ways. In different ways. You play the guitar, that's an escape, but an amazing productive one that allows you to express yourself.
Well, then when does it?
When does it
become escape? Yeah. I don't know. We could probably... that might take a little while to figure out.
I was thinking about this today when I was, because today I went for a surf and I was at the gym, and I was like, I'm essentially a drug addict for these waves. Like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to just experience a sick wave for 5-6 seconds and then get off. And all I can think about from then on is, how do I experience that again? How do I get out there and do that again? And then I was in the gym today and I was doing deadlifts and I was having a good time. And I was like, man, this feeling right now, I'm addicted to it. Like it's lifting up my heart rate, right? It's giving me endorphins in my head. I'm just addicted to this, right? This is good, you know? And at what point am I just like a drug addict that can't get more of the things I love to do, right? Even playing a great song on the guitar, it's like I literally get in a rhythm where I'll sit there for 45 minutes and the dopamine's just going crazy in my brain.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you wanna get it.
Mm.
And obviously there's so much burnout involved in certain things. Like you physically couldn't non-stop be doing deadlifts.
Yeah, no,
You know, like at some point it's just not gonna work anymore.
Agreed.
Whereas,
Agreed.
and I guess to some extent, like you're scrolling on TikTok. I don't go on TikTok anymore, but I know exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
First 30 seconds is the best thing ever. The next 5 minutes still pretty good.
Yeah.
The next 20 minutes probably still loving it. Good session, maybe get into half an hour, 45 minutes, and you're just scrolling like, oh, FYP's good today, man. But then it gets to a point where you've been sitting on your phone for a while and it feels disgusting. And you're like, this is no good. I'm not enjoying this, or this isn't funny, or like it's gone dry now and nothing's funny.
Yeah.
And it's because you just fried yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're doing too many deadlifts back to back.
Exactly.
I guess it's the same premise, right? Whether or not one's good for you or bad for you, I think is quite clear in a way. But obviously, like if you think about it, going to the gym, that's health or that's exercise, which is generally deemed positive. But so many people have a poor relationship with their health. Like, and there are certain people that are addicted to exercise in a pretty harmful way, I would say. And I guess it's balance, but for me, it's like I would promote a balance in terms of you going to the gym, but I wouldn't really. I don't know. I don't feel like there's a need to promote a balance for something like scrolling on TikTok. I reckon it just doesn't. There's better ways to get some dopamine. So.
Agreed. But you're so right. If I could just see like the one reel that comes up when you first go to swipe on reels every day and not see all the other garbage underneath, like I only just got the first 30 seconds, boy, that'd be some good clips. That would be some good content. But that's the problem. It's the trap. And even if you are disciplined, it still gets you because the algorithm's too good. Like you actually, this is another thing that comes down to like, you know, people say like, oh, AI isn't going to take our jobs. It's going to be fine. The algorithm without AI is already robbing you of hours of your time and you don't notice. And that's the thing. The algorithm has tricked you to sit on Instagram for 2 to 3 hours every single day and scroll, and you willingly just give that time away. I'm not saying this is everybody. I'm saying maybe on an average, right, people our age would be on their phones. Maybe people have between 2 to 4 hours of screen time, let's say, right? A lot of that is the algorithm tricking you to be there, right? And so that's the thing. You can't beat the machine mind. You can only escape it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. In terms of what? Like, what do you mean beat the machine mind?
You can't necessarily like outsmart it or outthink it. You sort of just have to get away from it. Yeah. You know, like you're never like for me personally, I can't live in balance with social media. I had to delete it because I was just like, it's not going to work, right? I'm not, even though I am disciplined, I'd say I'm relatively disciplined in a lot of different things. Just having the Instagram app on my phone was too much for me. I couldn't not scroll for, you know, sometimes it would just be 15 minutes a day. Other times it would be an hour. And I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. And as you said, a word that not many people use to describe it is disgusting. You literally get out of an hour, reel session or TikTok session, and you feel gross. You know, I
also don't want, like, I've got so many friends that do these things, and I don't like.
I'm not trying to shit on them either, you know?
I don't really care that much. Yeah. It's just like, that's just how it makes me feel, you know what I mean?
No, agreed.
I think, because I'm always best on my phone. It's something I have to try really hard to stay off my phone. And I find it easiest when I haven't been on it. It's like definitely like a snowball going down the mountain where it just picks up more and more snow. The more I'm on it, the more I want to be on it, the more I miss it. I miss my phone. How does that sound?
Oh, damn. No, it sounds true because I miss my phone, you know, like I know that sounds crazy because I'm so off my phone and I hate it and I wish I didn't have to have one, but in my pocket, it's always there, right? And if I don't have it on me, something feels wrong. Like, especially when I'm at work and I'm in the suit, if I don't have my phone in my pocket, which it almost always is, I try and get it off me as much as I can because I don't like the radiation. But that BS aside, that BS aside, right? Well, this is the thing. Nah, not that BS aside. I'm going to talk about this.
Okay, sure.
Right? The phone emits electromagnetic radiation fields, right?
Sure.
And people talk about necessarily that because that those radio waves at such a low level that they don't ionize, right? So they don't necessarily promote harm. It's not like an X-ray that ionizes that can cause damage to individual cells via radiation, right?
Sure.
It's too low of a wavelength, right? But we don't even have real studies on these things, right? No one's done genuine EMF and RMF studies on phones and exposure to skin. And I can think of a bunch of stories like little like colloquial stories of like women having their phone in their bra all the time, and then that was the side that the breast cancer developed on. Guys keeping their phone in their right pocket all the time, and then they got testicular cancer on that side, right? And I'm not saying that's to blame. I'm saying that could be a crazy coincidence. I'm just saying that we should have studies looking into this thing because everybody's got a phone, everybody keeps it right on their pocket, and who knows what it's doing to our health. And we have the right to understand, right? We've been essentially forced into having these phones. You can't exist without them. You can't be a modern member of society without a phone. So we deserve to know what these are doing to us, both to our minds and physically.
That's funny. I understand the mental, like the mental side effects of what the phone does. I never really thought about the physical side. I've got no idea. I'm not going to comment. It sounds so conspiracy theorist.
I'm sorry, guys.
And I'm sure like you're an intelligent guy, like you're my mate. So I'm not trying to but if there's no research on it, then that is questionable. Sure.
Well,
sure. I'll give you that.
There is research on it, but there's not like CDC, FDA studies like there would be for other products on the market, right?
Okay.
Like doctors talk about this. Dr. Paul Saladino, who's like a doctor, but he's also a bit of an influencer, like health influencer. He talks about this, and there have been like premature studies that show that it throws off certain levels in like potassium and like magnesium in your blood and can redirect it, right? But we don't necessarily know if that's bad. We just know that that's happening, right? And so I think there just needs to be more research into this because soon it's going to be a chip in your arm. Soon these things are going to be so compact and so crazy and hold so much computing power. It's just like AI. It's inevitable that this happens. So we as humans, as society, as people that have essentially been bred into this technology-driven world have the right to know what the result is going to be.
So you're getting a chip in your head, man?
Nah. I'm gonna run away. I'm literally gonna run away. Like even this podcast with all these cameras and these like monitor, Mac, everything is too much for me. Like my dad, when I was younger, I was like every kid, especially like think about our age. We didn't grow up with iPhones, but we grew up with the iPod Touch.
Yeah, right. Cusp, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like we didn't have an iPad since we were like 4 or 5 years old, but we got one like when we were like 13, 14, right? And maybe that was a blessing. Maybe at 5 years old, it can really cook and fry your brain. But if you get it a little bit later, maybe you'll be all right. Like, what do you think of this technology-driven world, like it being forced onto us? Do you think that's true, or do you think that's just the nature of our environment?
I mean, there's so many times where like people have asked me, would you rather like if you could pick any time in the world to live, what period would you want to live? And I most of the time I was like, probably like 10,000 years ago. Like to be honest, I reckon I would probably just be general baseline level of enjoyment of my life would probably be higher than it would be any other time.
You might not be wrong.
In saying that, technology has brought about incredible things. Like the way that we can experience a life now is so different because my life is twice as long. Like I can do I can travel so much further. I can see literally the ends of the earth if that's what I want to do. And that was not humanly possible 10,000 years ago.
Yeah. 10,000 years ago, you get a cut on your foot, it gets infected, you're done. You're dead.
Yeah, you're dead.
They don't have antibiotics.
So even though I'm pretty like anti-technology, sure, I'm really not. It's more of like, it's again like a dystopic, utopic kind of question. Like it can go both ways. What do we want to use it for? I think something that I might want to get into for work even in the future would be regulation around technology generally,
Mm.
because such powerful tools that we're making these days, and like it's so incredible. There's so much great things that we could be using it for. It gets me quite excited to think about it. But the past 100 years, 60 years, especially the past 10 at least, technology, I don't think has been used for the right reasons at all. Like,
Agreed.
yeah, I mean, it's not something I've thought about intensely,
Mm.
but from the surface, that's what I reckon it's going. I reckon technology is just going the wrong direction.
What type
Used
of
for a
no.
yeah, no, you go.
What type of regulation do you want to see? And does that cross the communism boundary, right? Where you're seeing like state controlled technology programs, right? Is that a step too far? Does this need to be a free market?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I don't think I have an answer for that, to be honest.
Because I think this is the real problem, right? Maybe we're talking about, because I agree, right? AI needs regulation, technology needs regulation. People like me who are sort of conspiracy theorists are scared of the problems that these are going to pose for us in the future, right?
Yeah.
Like and handing over the control to the government and saying, okay, regulate these for us, right? Are we going to wake up in George Orwell's 1984? Are we handing over the keys to Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and going to create like a technology-driven totalitarian society? Is fear the start of the dystopia?
I think I would definitely be reluctant to give up control to any one group, really. That's why this is what it comes back to. Like, I know there's a better way to organize society, but I don't know what it is. I don't know who we should give the power to and who's going to lead to a greater way of living. Whether or not giving full government control over technology regulation is going to lead to some of these incredible stories that we've read, I'm not sure. Like, it's, again, quite a pessimistic way to think about things. Although, I guess people in power kind of get a bad rap generally, from me included. I think most of them, actually, I don't even know if I believe what I'm about to say. I was going to say, I think most of them actually are trying their best. But then I guess it's just motivation is a whole nother thing.
I think there definitely are people that are trying their best. Like you see, like, oh man, this actually sounds crazy. I know this, people won't agree with me on this, and this is a tough one. But I actually think Trump thinks he's doing his best. I think he thinks he's trying his best. Who knows if what he's doing is best, right? But in his mind, I actually think he's trying his best, and there's but is that necessarily true? We haven't necessarily, he hasn't necessarily delivered on the promises he talked about in the electoral campaign, right? And so you could say, maybe that version of him on the campaign was a false version and he was just saying that to get elected, and now he's in power, he's doing what he really wants to do. Or you could say that he's so tied down by the American political system that it doesn't allow him to actually, take charge of these things. Ending the war in Ukraine, stopping the onslaught on Gaza is way harder than, it proved it. He thought it would have been when he was on the campaign, right? But another's also Bernie Sanders, I think, two complete left and right now we're talking, right? And I think Bernie Sanders genuinely believes that what he is doing is right. And those are two people, in my opinion, they sort of perfectly sum up the left and the right a little bit, where they're, both so driven for, in their heart, the right things. Those right things are just slightly a little bit different, but Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump both want the American people to prosper, in my opinion. They just have a different way of going about it. And I know it sounds crazy if you were to think of it from a policy perspective, but they have more in common than they do apart, in my opinion. And if they could see that in each other, if they could see that in each other, maybe it would bring the system closer together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Well, first of all, I think the fact that Donald Trump is even in politics versus B, actually has had a term and is now president again,
doing a second term,
is maybe the stupidest thing in the whole world. He makes me seriously embarrassed to be a human being sometimes, man.
A member of the West for sure.
Yeah, like anyway, I do. I think he is utterly selfish in so many ways, and although he might want to, I think he would love for America to be this great nation and very prosperous, but I don't think he's doing that because he loves Americans. I think he's doing that because he would be the leader of the greatest nation. Like, I think he's just a fear monger and a powerful person that wants to use his power. And if he can show that he can create this beautiful society, then that he'll be the king of it. And that's him playing God in a way. And just, I think he's a fucking idiot. So like,
It's so fair.
Yeah.
It's so understandable. Like,
but whether or not he wants us, like, America to be a great country, like, I think there's definitely some truth to it, but I don't think for the right reasons.
agreed. I think what you just said also aligns with what I just said, which is he's trying to
He's
act
trying to
in
do
a certain
something.
way,
Yeah.
and whether it's out of selfish motivations or whether out of nationalistic motivations, right? He's actually trying his best to get there, right? And whether the policies that he's putting in place are the best way to get there, or are the best way for the American people moving forward, that's another conversation in itself. Because I completely agree. You've got his attitude, you've got his inflammatory language, you've got his selfish behavior and tendencies, right? Which is one argument. But then you've got the policies and what's actually being implemented on the other hand too. And then the restriction of such too, in like terms of the system that he faces and a lot of the bureaucracy around it as well. So
Yeah,
it's a tough argument.
I believe that bureaucracy is a massive, like, blockade to change in terms of,
Sure.
like, obviously it makes sense, but that's the thing. The fact that, let's say, you have 4-year term, I understand how important that is, because if things aren't going the right way, you want to be able to have a vote for change. And that's the democratic system that we've come up with. Would I prefer for there to be 10 or 20-year terms? Yeah, if we vote the right guy in.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's such an easy thing to say. Guy or girl, probably most likely a woman would be much better, I think. But that's a whole nother yarn as well.
It doesn't have to be. Why does a female make a better leader?
Besides so many reasons, I think one that even so many people who don't believe what I think or about these sort of things should think about is the fact that so little women have had a chance. We're going, I think, and you agree, we're going the wrong direction. Let's just see what can happen if we give someone else a go. For one, that's like the most superficial level. I don't know, I feel like so many, like, you see it in politics today, I guess. You see like a different sort of level of compassion, and it feels like more human. Sometimes I'm looking at like, and Trump as well. Like it's so easy to compare Trump to, let's say, like, I don't know, who's like Jacinda Ardern for one.
Yeah.
So many people would okay, let's not even say choose Jacinda, but just not want to choose Trump for so many reasons.
Yep.
And yeah, potentially maybe a good byproduct of some of these like really stupid guys being in power is that we're gonna maybe switch on to the fact that a different sort of person should be leading nations. 100%. Then again, leading nations, how much power do these people really have as well, is a whole other thing. But I'll start talking like conspiracy theory.
Well, I think like if you boil it down, and it's hard to try and like dodge the like sexism argument here, I guess.
Sure.
You think about Trump, he's a perfect example of that hyperinflated ego, like selfish sort of character as you've described, right? And very kind of in it for himself and his own legacy, right? And I feel like the era of the politician, which is what we experience now, I feel like that's a bit of a failed experiment. Like politics has failed, right? It's in every country, right, where we have a so-called democracy, right? The politicians are swayed by money, power, greed, and it doesn't end up working out for the interest of the people, for the best interest of the people, that is, right? So the era of the politician, in my opinion, has to end. What we replace it with, I don't necessarily know. But I think you're right. A more empathetic leader, someone that is you know, as we talked about before, logical when it comes to decisions, but also has that emotional side, which is innately human. A female's better at doing that than a man, from, you know, typical
I believe
stereotype
that.
from I'm just talking about typical stereotypical
Yeah,
behavior,
sure.
right? I'm not trying to put anybody in a box or anything like that. I'm just saying theoretically, this is what most people would believe anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, you know, and there's a lot to be said for that. And women, as you said, haven't necessarily had their fair shake, their chance to shine in this arena,
Not at all.
right? It's like, if you really think about how male dominated politics is, it's one of the industries where, even, you know, something that I do for a living, something that you do for a living, there's slowly been more women in the workforce. And now we're at a place where it's almost 50-50, I'd say, right? Not necessarily from pay, but in terms of, like, you know, just amount of numbers, right? But when you're talking about politics, it's 80-20, right? 80 men, 20
I don't know.
right?
I don't know what
Probably
it is,
less. Oh, I don't necessarily know either. But if you look around in
It wouldn't surprise me.
Australian Parliament, there's not a lot of women sitting there, right? There's some, and there's now more than ever, right? But is there enough? Is there 50-50? These are arguments that we have to have. And is, you know, now, okay, we both understand that diversity is good, right? But then if you put a quota on it, does that essentially influence who's getting in?
Yeah.
If you know, it makes it more likely for a woman to be elected. It creates new problems, right? If you've got quotas and incentives for women to run for office, because then they might abuse those incentives and those quotas might be mismanaged, right? It creates a whole new... And that's why I think the era of the politician has to end, because no matter who you are, man, woman, child, if we're talking about Plato's Republic, right?
Yeah.
Right. No matter who you are, you're human. You're going to experience the trappings of the human condition, right? And with great power comes great responsibility, and we don't see many people around the world with the strength to yield it. You know, like, if you try and count good leaders in the world, right, in any system, like, let's take Donald Trump, I guess, the leader of the free world, right? Then you got Xi Jinping, the leader of, you know, China, which is like the largest rising superpower. And then you've got Vladimir Putin, right, the leader of Russia, USSR, all that type of stuff. You take those three guys, none of them are very good, right? You've got the CCP doing crazy stuff, communist policies in China. You've got a totalitarian government in Vladimir Putin, and you've got all the crazy stuff that we talked about with Trump going on in the US, right? It's kind of like the person who makes it to that position, it's impossible for them to be virtuous. And to be in that position takes all your virtue from you. That's what it must be. There must be people like you and
Ethan's
I.
kicking my feet.
Yeah, I don't need to. But there must be people with you and I who are, you know, who are intentioned in the right way, who want to make positive change, and then they get there and they become corrupted. It must be a limit of the human condition.
Yeah, maybe. I guess it gets harder and harder the more people you have to rule over as well. Or, like, I'm just thinking back, let's say we're talking like 10,000 years ago, it was more tribal based, small groups. But I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure there were like pretty bad leaders back then as well.
For sure.
But definitely, like, we live in such a global society that it gets harder and harder. You have to rise further and further to get a certain level of control, and then definitely that process is taking it out of you.
We talked about ways to kind of express yourself. We talked about that with like meditation and breath work. But another avenue that you use to express yourself, Nick, is through the guitar.
Yeah, man.
When did you start learning how to play the guitar, and what's your journey been like so far?
I started playing the guitar in 2021.
Yeah.
No, 2022.
Okay, second year uni?
Yeah, second year uni. That was when I was living with my mate in DY. It was probably halfway through the year. I had a guitar at home that I grabbed from home to take to my apartment and started playing. At that time, I was playing the keyboard a fair bit and really enjoying that, but I wanted to play the guitar. I think it was slightly because the music that I was listening to was changing at that time. So I was really enjoying, like, back then especially, not as much now, but it's still a little bit. I really like being able to play the music that I listen to. Sure. Hearing something and being able to recreate it, albeit very poorly. So much fun. I could sit there doing it for hours, you know. And that started, almost, what year is it now? 2025.
Yeah.
So
time moves.
This is the third year I'm playing the guitar. So
Yeah.
not very long at all, really. Considering like most like great guitarists our age now have been playing since they were like 5 years old, right? So 20 years. But it was where I was working for Westpac, start of year 3, right?
Yep.
2023. Yeah. So Ethan and I, we went to Westpac at the same time for our internships. That's correct, right?
Agree.
Yeah. And at that point, I'd been playing the guitar for maybe 6 months, maybe. And then the next 6 months while we were there, I went into the office like 5 times, like max in 6 months, which is ridiculous in itself. And
2023 wasn't COVID. It just so like it was not.
It was COVID for Nick.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much I would sit at my laptop because I had to be in and around the area to answer like stupid Teams messages. I love Westpac, man. One of my favorite times. And I would spend all day just like with the guitar on my lap, just like playing unplugged and just chilling out, messing around and learning. And that's definitely why I think I'm an amateur guitarist. I don't think of myself as a great musician at all. I'm learning slowly but surely. I just love it so much, and I see like it's something that I don't see myself ever stopping. In saying that, considering how long I've been playing, I'm quite proud of how far I've come. I know back then, after the first 6 months and then 6 months playing pretty much every day working for Westpac, people were very surprised when I was like, oh, I've been playing for like a year. They're like, oh, wow, like that's really good. And it's because I spent so much time on it back then. Still do play a lot. I play probably every day still, but not as much. It's like probably like 6 hours a day. Put on Teams, like join a Zoom call, nonsense garbage I wouldn't have to listen to. So I'd just like mute it and just like play guitar. Whether or not I would take that back or not, I haven't figured that out in my mind yet, but it was definitely an experience for me that I enjoyed learning. I learned so much through learning the guitar as well. So,
I've heard you play the guitar. I wouldn't take it back. You can play. You can rip.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks. Yeah, it's like anything. It's like anything you can learn from certain things in your life, and guitar is definitely one of them. Like it taught me a lot how to be patient. So many times if I start trying to do something I don't really get it, I can become so frustrated and push it off straight away. Having something like the guitar where if I'm learning a new song or trying to figure out how to use my hands to like play a certain chord, at first, if I found it difficult and frustrating, I'd stop. And then I realized, well, I'm never going to get better if I do it that way. So it taught me to be kinder to myself, more patient. And because I kind of started to boil it down to something so simple like playing a musical instrument. But those lessons I took into the rest of my life. Like, Nick, be kind to yourself. If you're trying new things, give yourself the time to fail. Give yourself the time to really struggle at it, because otherwise you're not going to get better. And I found it quite easy to sort of boil all those really massive learnings and teachings for myself and sort of get it in the guitar and learn from the guitar, which is so fun. I'm still doing it now. Like something like Don't Rush, like that I was talking about with the meditation stuff.
Yeah, same principle.
That definitely came from me practicing guitar. Like I would be like, I'm trying to learn and get better. I'm rushing through, and music is all timing. That's all it is. If you start rushing, it sounds horrible, man. So like, yeah, it's been so much fun. Playing with other people as well is something that I've started to do today. My mate Hamish came over this morning. We played. It's been a long time since we've had a jam, which is, he's an elusive guy, so it's hard for me to get a hold of him. But and that's seeing both of us like objectively like pretty just like average guitarists. Like it's nothing special going on here, but it's so much fun regardless, because you just with your mate you play something that you like, and you can just like have a boogie in your bedroom and just chill out. It's like it's very creative outlet for me. I don't have many, I think. And initially it started me just like learning things I liked. I'd hear a song that I like and I just learn the part that I wanted to
Yeah.
learn. I rarely learned whole songs because I'd just kind of get distracted along the way. And mainly because I'd hear something I liked. In the process of learning it, I'd mess up, play something different, but I'm like, oh, that sounds cool anyway. And then I'd make up my own little tunes or whatever it is. So most of what I play is just stuff I've made up, which is fun. Some of it sounds pretty bad, which is also pretty fun. And I really love that. It doesn't have to be good. It's not for anyone else. It's just for me. And it's something that I really enjoy. I love spending my time doing that. It feels like it's a very wholesome thing for me to do.
Yes. Do you think you talked about how guitar has taught you lessons about yourself that you've been able to apply to other aspects of your life, right? And I think that kind of has to be said for all things which are really difficult. If you're learning something really difficult, always use the example of mixed martial arts, because there's so many different things that you have to learn. There's so much of a commitment from a training perspective, and so many years of knowledge that have to go into, one person when they step into the cage for just, they might only be in there for 2 minutes, right?
True.
Yeah. And so there's so much that goes into that 2 minutes, right? And same with a guitar, right? The same with learning the guitar. Just to play that one song is 3 years of work, right? And the discipline, the patience, the motivation to keep practicing, being able to recognize mistakes within yourself, not just in your playing, but in the way that you're practicing, right? To understand like, oh, I'm stopping because I'm uncomfortable because I'm not hitting this note, and then I'm moving on to stuff that I'm more comfortable with. I need to switch on and get better at the stuff I'm uncomfy with. Otherwise, it's never going to work, right? And having the humility to understand that within yourself. Do you think that's true? Do you think it's taught you lessons outside of the guitar?
Yeah, 100%. There's so many things, like yoga as well as one thing that you learn so many things that you can take off your mat and bring into every situation. And it doesn't have to be something like yoga or guitar that can do it. Like sitting down talking with your friend, you can learn something. You don't have to just brush it aside because you weren't thinking you were learning, but you're always fucking learning, bro.
Exactly.
Like, it's all we do, really. And it just depends if you want to take it on board and, I don't know, keep going with it or not, I guess. Yeah, guitar is definitely, I guess, things that are challenging make it easier to see the fact that you're learning, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any dreams or ambitions with the guitar? Do you want to take this further?
Like I said before, it's just for me, which is like, it's fine. There's so many, and I know people that want to be musicians. That's what they want to do as a career, which is not something I want to do. I think it's just not something I want to do, to be honest. Yeah.
Fair. So fair.
But in saying that, I don't think I'll ever stop playing music. I would love to like record something and just have that. It's like I know people that have some of their parents' things like that they were doing when they're young. Like my dad, he's a great like craftsman who's built he's built guitars, for example.
Wow.
And just the fact that he's got like these things that I can look back at what he was doing when he was a kid, or like when he was this age, that age. It's so fun to just like have something to leave. Like our beautiful dining table at home, my dad made that. And like, I would love to, like, let's say if I take that dining table, be like to Mike, he was like, oh, this is what dad did, or whatever it was. And if I made some music, I just leave it there. I don't care how many people listen to it, but like, if someone one day, maybe it's like a kid or whatever, is like, oh, that's so much fun, dad was making some really bad music back in the day, like, then that would just be like, it's just fun to do something like that, express myself, creatively, make some really weird noises that probably I only like, and then that's the thing, it's really fun. I feel like I'm pretty good at coming up with ideas, but recording it and producing it is a whole nother ball game,
for sure.
Which is it kind of puts me off, because it's like, is that a skill that I want to dedicate a lot of time to doing? Maybe not. But anyway, that's
It would add to the dad lore, though.
It would add to the dad lore. That's true.
Well, let's get into it.
See if we can get some of this going. This is what I usually do. Like, one of my favorite guitarists, Johnny Marr.
Okay.
who he was guitarist originally for the Smiths. That's like where he got famous, and he grew up like he learnt how to make songs just looping guitar parts. It's like I'll like just play like this, like, and put a drum beat down like that, and then play some chords at the top, whatever, and then like just build and build and build. And it's so much fun. I find it like.
So you've got the loop pedal on the floor.
Yeah, so I got the looping pedal on the floor.
Here we go.
We can just play some blues, I guess. Not a great loop, but it should work.
See.
All right.
That was awesome. That was so cool.
I find it so hard to play in front of people, to be honest.
Fair. I completely the same. Like as soon as I get in front of people, it's a different ball game. Dude, do you want to do anything else while you're here? Do you want to like? It's completely up to you.
Fucking flipping the switch, bro. Yeah, I really like playing like funky stuff like that, which is mainly inspired by Nile Rodgers,
Yeah.
who he's produced so much stuff. Like most of the most famous stuff that he did was for Le Chic, Le Chic for Chic back in the day, which was like 70s, like one of the big like disco funk groups, for Sister Sledge, and then he worked a lot on Random Access Memories, which was the last Daft Punk album.
Wow.
It's like Get Lucky, and what was the other big one off that album? I can't remember, but
See if you can find that car.
he produced those and like played on them all, and it's such a cool style. Like
That is awesome.
and he's
That
like
is
a big jazz guy. Like he'll play like that's how he'll write a song, really like beautiful, like lush chords, and then he'll just play it so funky, like chop it up like. And like it's so much fun to play like that. It took me so long to figure out how to do it. And like if you want, go home and watch a video of Nile Rodgers playing. There's some really cool YouTube videos of him playing, and it's so cool. I sound like garbage compared to him, and it's just like it's so like the technique is like as soon as you have your fingers down and you play, the noise comes out. You lift them up, it stops. And that rhythm that's playing in behind when you're not making the chord ring out is like what makes it so like funky, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fucking fun to play. One of my favorite things is like, and I know you like the folk acoustic stuff, which I never play on this, but just like finger style. And it doesn't sound great on this guitar because it's a fucking cheap guitar, $400. This guy in Newtown makes them, which is cool in itself. But like,
it is cool.
Yeah, it's
so most times like $400 guitars, they're just like cheap copies, right?
Yeah.
But something like that where you know where you got it from at least is awesome.
Yeah, so much art, dude. So much. I'm so out of tune, but yeah.
That's the show, everyone. Thanks. Dude, that was sick.